Greatness. 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 Wow, wow, wow.
Renewing the Mind podcast family. Speaking on anxiety tonight. So we're talking about anxiety today because me and my dad were talking and we were watching the news. And if you guys have seen this, but the Google came out with that anxiety, acute anxiety, what anxiety feels like, all anxiety type of searches has hit an all-time record, like the highest it's ever been through the pandemic and definitely in the early stages of it. And we've talked about mental health, and if you head over to our YouTube channel, we talk about removing the stigma of mental health, that it's not and shouldn't be looked down upon, but we should kind of be talking and open about it just like any other struggle. And you're not less than if you have mental issues and struggles and battles. And so we saw that. I'm like, dude, Dad, I know we were supposed to talk about panic attack. We're supposed to talk about bedtime routines, but let's move into anxiety and panic attacks, since that's what people are searching now more than ever. And then last week I read an article about how many pastors currently right now are struggling more than ever with suicidal thoughts and basically resigning, quitting, or even contemplating suicide just because of the pandemic. It's constantly changing. No one knows what to do. No one knows who to turn to. Like in parenting, there's parent experts. No one's been through a pandemic like we're going through with this ever-changing stuff. So with all that being said, we don't really want to get into the what's and whys and who's and what causes anxiety. We want to talk about more what happens in the body, what happens in the brain, why we feel a certain way, the mental side of that, and then how do we overcome that? How do we handle that? What's the long-term effects of that? How do we work through it? And if you saw the social media post today, it was basically the way you see it playing out is what happens. So if we can change the way we see it, then we can change the outcome. Did I get that right?
Correct.
So you got anything to say before we hit some of those?
So the first thing is like, it's crazy to think about internationally. There's been a constellation of searches about acute anxiety, which means like I'm just cruising through life and all of a sudden, boom, I got this big anxiety thing that I can't get rid of. I can't sleep, not hungry, just feeling weird. And then people are searching panic attacks. And then people are just searching general anxiety. So what is anxiety? Anxiety is just excessive worry, not worry, excessive worry about something that hasn't happened yet. Okay. So basically I'm worrying about a future that hasn't occurred. Now we could say, well, I'm nervous about tomorrow, or, hey, let me rehearse this again because I'm not feeling like I'm comfortable for tomorrow. That's okay. But it's this excessive worry that I can't let go of. And the reason is our brains can't tell the difference between a reality and a fantasy. So think about a child who's afraid of something under the bed versus an adult who's afraid of failing a test. Okay, so the reality changes for the older we get, but the idea that this could go bonkers wrong. So that's where anxiety hits. Okay, now, why does anxiety wreck people? Okay, so it's excessive worry about something that hasn't happened. And anxiety wrecks people is because our brain has a check and balance system. There's this thing called sequential memory or sequential thought, like first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So what happens is there's like 7 to 9 steps to analyze something and make a decision. Okay, 7 to 9 steps. When anxiety hits, boom, there's a 3-step shortcut through the amygdala. So now my 9 steps turns into 3. So I make an instant decision that this isn't good for me. So now I'm in fight or fight. I'm in panic. And so a great example is like, let's say we're over at your house, Ty, watching a movie, and we're all just chilling. I don't realize that you get up and put in popcorn. Then you go bathroom. You forgot, you hit the wrong button. You hit the button that says potato, very common. And then instead of, it's a 5-minute thing instead of popcorn. So we're all sitting there and all of a sudden the smoke alarm goes off, but the microwave hasn't beeped yet. The smoke alarm is going off and your guest will jump up in panic and be like, hey, what's that? What's going on? What happened? You're going to go, oh, okay, chill out. False alarm. No worries. I just burnt popcorn. So my alarm goes off because it's novel to me. It's brand new. I'm at your house. I don't know what your house sounds do. So my alarm system jumps up and I'm like, fire, fire, get out of the house. And you're like, bro, chill out. It's just popcorn. Okay. That's the difference. Like your amygdala doesn't freak because you've been there before. You're like, oh, dude, sorry, I put popcorn in. So you have some knowledge that I don't have. So to me, that's anxiety. To you, it's like, that's a brain fart. Like, oh man, I messed up. That's exactly what happens on an everyday situation. So one time I was in the office working with the family, and literally it was like a thunderstorm, and our power goes out, just blinks. But when our power goes out, our security system resets, and so it just goes crazy. And so the kid jumped up and was like, tornado, tornado, we're gonna die, we're gonna die. And I stand up and go, no, 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 no. Like our power blinked. I'll reset it, and it's super loud, so I reset it fast. And then you see after that, he's still hanging on to his dad because his alarm's on. And his dad's like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And the guy's like, let's go, let's get in the car, let's go, we're gonna die, let's go. He's like, no, 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 no. See, once that alarm's on, it takes a reassessment to look around and be like, no, 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 chill. And that's where breathing is so important to reset that alarm. Now that you understand how that works, people ask all the time, so how do I change that in my body? And the idea is I have to be able to reset me. I have to be able to breathe in the nose, out the mouth. You have to do it that way. Deep breath in the nose, deep exhale through the mouth, because that balances both sides of the brain and helps me to understand I'm in control again. Does that make sense? Because that's called an acute stress. Like boom, I'm panicked, and then you can settle back down. That's what everybody's dealing with right now, an acute stressor.
Yeah, because the tough part about hearing that, at least from my own, I go, oh, well, it's super easy for you because you've been there before, right? Or it's easy for me in the popcorn scenario because I know the situation. And I just immediately went to sports. Then it's like they always say, in the championship games, the people with the most experience thrive the most because they've been there before. They understand what 60,000 people screaming at the Super Bowl feels like. And so they can immediately calm themselves down because they've been there. And the rookies are the people that are getting there for the first time. They're experiencing it for the first time. So what you're saying is that even if you haven't experienced it or you don't have someone there, you have to figure out and basically do that self-talk to yourself. Correct. To say it's not a tornado, it's not this, because not every time you're going to have a you there to say, hey, this is an alarm, it's fine, sit down. And some of those situations, you're sitting there by yourself. And you're contemplating all those things in your head, like what's happening, what's going on. And in that moment, that's where we keep coming back to that self-talk.
Yeah, absolutely. It's money. It's literally a gold mine, that self-talk. So we go back to that word too, like you versus you. But okay, so here's the idea. So there's really two sparks in the anxiety field. So one's a top down. So that's me. So if I'm sitting here and I think just working through a couple stories for tonight, I'm like, okay, so if it goes this way, I'll answer this way. If it goes this way, I'll answer that way. And then my head says, well, what if somebody asks a question about autism? And so my head will kind of go that random piece. I'm like, oh, so should I? And there's a little bit of anxiety for me. My hands start to sweat, but my hands don't get sweaty until I have thoughts that make me I'm here and I planned out 3 steps. My head will run over here. And now I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. And so I'll get a little bit sweaty just because psychologically the term is called arousal. I know it's hard to talk about, but we're just talking about heart rate, breathing.
Sounds like you're about to kiss some people.
No. But I know it's the same word, but it's used differently. So this is physiological arousal from the sense that I'm panicked. So think about somebody who's afraid. They're sweaty, they're hot, they're overheated because their body is all systems go to run. Okay. So I have thoughts.
Can't that be headaches and, not to throw mom under the bus, when she gets anxiety, she gets stomach pain. It doesn't have to be because my hands don't get sweaty. It's different for each person, right?
Correct. So I'm a top down person. So it usually starts with a thought. And now that I know what that is over the years, I can identify where those thoughts got sideways on me. I fell off the train track. So for somebody like mom doesn't have thoughts. She's just busy cleaning and she's trying to pack and she's just in go mode. So for her, she forgets to drink water. That's a big one. And she's just kind of overdoing. And so there's a physiological thing in there where she starts to get a stomach ache and a headache. So for that person, she's a bottom up. Her anxiety hits body first. And then her system check isn't what's going to wreck me. Her system check is, oh no, I think I'm getting a cold. Oh no, like I hope I'm not getting sick. Then she'll say, put out, hey, pray for me. My stomach's messing up. Do you understand? So for mom, like the alarm is her body. They're called bottom up people. So they're feelers. They feel bad. They feel weird. They feel off.
Yep.
And they start to have that self-talk. Man, I feel bad. I feel wrecked. I feel like this is going to be bad. I don't know if I can go today. I feel terrible. Something's wrong with me. And they start to have that self-talk about the feeling. Whereas I have the self-talk about where it'll go wrong. Do you see the difference? One's words and one's feeling.
Yeah. What one's thoughts that then cause your body, and the other
Correct.
one you feel anxiety, which then causes your thoughts to run.
100%. Right.
Like
And yeah. And so both of us have to be able to understand, like, why am I panicking about this? Why am I thinking about this? Why are my hands sweaty? Why does my stomach hurt? And we have to be the people to get up and walk around, so to speak, our own body and say, oh, dang, it's just popcorn. Okay. And that's where we have to be the boss of us. And this is, so, the Mamba mentality, right? So we all talk about Kobe, right? Kobe was famous for something that's genius and it's so simple, but he just says, edit you. Bro, you got to edit you. That's what he keeps saying all the time to people. You got to edit you. It's just genius. It's so simple, but yet it's genius. So the idea is like, when you're feeling weird, edit you. Like, go through your system, edit, put up, this doesn't fit no more. Like, I can't do that no more. Like coffee with cream, I can't do that no more, specifically for me. That's why I got to move to MCT oil or something, because that wrecks my stomach. Then that starts to go bottom up for me. And I'm like, man, I'm not feeling good. So I just can't do that. So I have to edit me constantly. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. That's awesome.
Talk about the long effects of what happens to people that are anxious. I always heard it say, which I don't know if it's true or not, but anxiety and like worry causes ulcers, and you're causing yourself long-term damage, and it's people die young who worry.
Oh, did you see that, baby?
Oh my word. Hey, hold on.
There we go. There we go.
Okay.
There we go. No ring kiss, but there's a mug kiss. All right, sorry.
I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh, yeah. People say like, oh, you die young if you worry, and people that worry, you cut years off your life. We've heard, all of that. Is it true? Is it not true? And if it's true, why and what happens?
Yeah, the answer is yes. Stress is called the silent killer for a reason, because it wrecks the body from inside out. So basically, it's a big thing, but the brain and the body uses resources to fight disease, number one. Then it's fighting stress, number two. Then it can actually start to create or heal. And sometimes if you have to heal, it'll heal first, then create. So if I'm sick, I can't heal me if I'm stressed or fighting a disease. Okay. So now I don't have a disease. So that's checked. But now I have to heal because I'm sick, but I'm so stressed out that my body can't heal. Okay. So when we talk about being creative, that's way down on the list on the priority of what the body does. So if I'm chronically stressed, I'm chronically not healing, and I'm chronically not creating. So I'm constantly in this state of shock. And so what happens is the trigger system, like the alarm, it gets hypersensitive. So like if we turn the alarm down to from a 10 to a 2, that's somebody who hears the alarm and says it's just popcorn. So it goes from a 10 to a 9 to an 8 to a 7. So now I know what wrecks me. I'm like, oh, bro, that's just an alarm. I got it. So now I'm desensitizing the alarm. It doesn't have the effect on me anymore. Like somebody who snooze 24/7, the alarm doesn't work anymore. Somebody who jumps up at the alarm every single time, and this is key, hides or goes finds in comfort. So like I go hide from the stress, like I don't go to class because I know I'm going to fail this test, or like I go fail the test, come home and I have comfort food, or I do something else like calling sick from work. If I hide or go find comfort, what's going to happen to me is my alarm system gets more sensitive, because the brain fired an alarm and I listened. So the brain says, oh, cool, spot on, 100%. This works for Raul. So now I'm going to fire that alarm all the time. So what's the long-term effect of anxiety? The alarm gets hypersensitive. And now things I used to be chill at now start to make me anxious. And I always say this, that anxiety is like mold. If you don't tackle it, it'll steal more ground and more ground and more ground until you're pinned in your. There's an anxiety called agoraphobia, where people will not leave their house, literally will not leave. Okay. So now if you think about like who's chronically the most anxious growing up, they're kids who are on like the spectrum, autistic type kids. And the reason is they have sensory issues. And if you try to put on a shirt or a turtleneck or try to put flip-flops on them or something, they freak out every time. Their alarm's chronically turned on, and our job is to desensitize them. But if a parent coddles and doesn't desensitize, they're chronically anxious about every single thing. Understand? So I don't think Terrence would be mad about this, but like we had to desensitize Terrence to like put his feet in mud because he freaked out. We had to desensitize him to like, he had water moccasins for a while, and then we went to flip-flops, and he can just walk in mud and sand and do it with nothing. But it's a process, right? So just desensitizing anxiety resets that alarm. So the long-term effect is if my alarm is hypersensitive, everything starts to scare me, right? Yep. So the answer then is push through those alarms so that I don't get desensitized or that I don't get hypersensitive to those alarms. So like somebody who's hypersensitive would be like a PTSD person. They're hypersensitive. So like they're always freaked out. So they, one time I was working with a PTSD vet, and we were on Pierce Street, and sometimes big semis run gear up to St. Luke's Hospital. And I didn't think about it. Just like second day on therapy working with him, and our wall starts shaking and our lamp starts bobbling because just going up that hill, it's a humongous semi carrying all kinds of gear, and our chair started shaking. He literally went into like fight mode. His hands came up, he protected himself, and he covered his head and he rolled up in a ball on the floor because the hypersensitive alarm said that's a tank, and he just was there. So I know enough. So I backed away from him. I sat on the floor away. And once he looked back around, he started breathing, and I was just like, "You're okay. That was just a semi." That's all I kept saying. It was just a semi. You're okay. You're safe. It was just a semi. And probably about 6 minutes later, he turns around and he's completely drenched in sweat. And he was like, "Did I do anything stupid?" And I was like, No, you're totally safe. And I backed away. Just got to ground him and then rebreathe. So that's the far side of a hypersensitive system, right? And then the opposite side of that is a dude who can walk on coals with his feet, hot coals. Like they've desensitized that engine enough to know like, I'm good. I'm not going to die. It's just going to be put calluses on my feet. And they talk through that other side and they can move through stuff like that.
Yeah. Alicia said like Stella when with grass as a baby. So when Stella was younger,
tell that story.
She's probably like 1, maybe. I don't know. And she wouldn't touch grass. So like when we put her legs down, as soon as they touched grass, she would just pick them up. And like the lower you got, the higher she picked her legs up. And so we just, we weren't going to sit on the grass, and you basically just went through the doctor mode on my child and said, no, you can't keep pushing them away from this, because then everything that causes their legs to pull up figuratively, sticky hands, all that stuff. You're just going to constantly feed that engine. So what you have to do is have them touch the grass for a little bit and then pull her away, touch the grass for a little bit longer, pull her away, touch the grass for a little bit longer, pull away. I don't know. It took maybe 5 or 6 times. And then she sat on the grass. Then she put her hands on the grass and started playing a little bit. The next thing you know, she's crawling around, running around. But it's kind of that slow kind of blending of what they're scared of or what they don't want to do in a nice manner, Because I've seen dads do this, like where they just like, no, the kid's not gonna be a baby. They're gonna sit on the grass, and just set them on the grass, and they're screaming and yelling. So just quickly run through those scenarios.
Yeah. So what we did is we touched her feet down, and then she started freaking out, and then we picked her up and we sing and dance and cuddle. So we're safety, security, and we make her laugh. Yep. So we desensitized the engine, and then we touched the grass again. And after 3 or 4 times, she knew what was coming. And when we got close to the thing, she just pulled her feet up. So I had to actually put her shins on the grass, right? And then after
so is that something you can do for other people?
Yeah, that's literally like what I do for OCD people or people with anxiety, is you desensitize by slowly taking away the power of that alarm system. So if we didn't do that with Stella, then grass would have turned into sand, mud, gravel, snow. Yep. Like as long as it's not cement, she'll freak. And because
so what about the opposite side of just like sticking a kid on the grass and like, oh, you're tough, it's just grass, and just force it.
So there's zero security there. So the kid will be tough and hold it together because dad's there or old school grandpa's there. And they'll just be like this and they'll just grit it. But what happens is that kid never opens up when they're anxious or scared. They implode. So they develop eating disorder. They'll cut themselves. They don't tell people they're struggling, but then they get on a private blog as a separate person and they log in all that stuff like, hey, I'm going to die. I hate my life. Like my dad sucks. Yeah. Nobody understands me. Do you understand? We basically demonize them for having a little bit of fear.
Yeah. So we cause them to not be able to ever bring an issue forward because they're going to be thrown into the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Comment. Amber says, Matt and I were just talking to Breck tonight about anxiety and worry. He's struggling with anxiety at school. His class got moved to an offsite location and the change has been tough on him. Can't wait to share this with him. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, perfect. So exactly.
One thing we did, we try to do with Stella is like, because you've told us that, mentally thinking about something tricks our body into thinking that we've actually done it. So we walk through every scenario into situations like that, like here's what's going to happen. The teacher's going to do this. This is what's going to happen. So I know it sounds like in that situation, it was pretty abrupt and, the change is not what was supposed to happen, but still the same thing. I mean, you can mentally walk through that, right? And this is what's going to take place. And this is because in the child's mind, their body is feeling that. So when they get there the next day or, a week from now, their body feels like they've already been there. Correct.
Yep. And so this is where we go to, okay, so like we don't have a chance to desensitize. Like that's the process with Stella. That's desensitizing the alarm. We're taking away the power. So the classroom just got moved. There's zero opportunity to desensitize. So he's already in the fire and he comes home stressed out, like school sucks. I'm not going to go. Like this is dumb. I hate school, like all this kind of stuff. So now we go back to our move steps. So what we're talking about tonight is step 2 of our 3-step process, renewing the mind, right? So there's you renew your perspective, so you think differently about the problem. Number 2 is move toward uncertainty. Number 3 is find what's awesome about that, right? So we're stuck on step 2 tonight. So move toward uncertainty. Now we got the move steps, okay? So move, the number 1, music. If you don't think music creates momentum, all you got to do is turn on music with the baby, turn it up loud and just bob your head. Babies go nuts. It motivates, it moves.
I go nuts.
Yeah, I do. Like, bro, all these workouts, this is funny. I told mom tonight, she was dying laughing. I've been on a Michael Jackson kick because like day 23, whatever, it's kind of getting boring. It's like routine, but that still kicks my butt. Like, the 444 on the plank, I'm shaking like crazy. So like,
wait, Mom, I told Mom that I don't listen to K-Love when I work out and she was mad at me, but you can listen to Michael Jackson? Oh,
don't say that.
Oh, what, Mom?
Bro, 80s.
You're on here.
80s, like, dude, like number 1 hits. Boy, I'm telling you what, like that hits different. Like brings me back to like, working at Grandma's Ruth's Casino, just cutting up food, just jamming to Michael Jackson. Like
I told Mom I can't listen to Casting Crowns and work out. And she was hurt.
Facts. I can't listen to that stuff. There's no momentum.
You're over here blaring Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
Okay. So move.
Music,
right? The O is outside. So there's 2 pieces. Get outside for green therapy. Take a walk, ride a bike, go sit on the porch, read a book. Literally get outside. There's a whole process on grounding. Literally put your feet in the grass and dig a little hole in the dirt and put your feet in the dirt. You literally will suck up any minerals and heavy metals that your body needs. It's crazy. Your body knows what it needs. It'll suck it up through your feet. So that's called grounding. Okay. So O is get outside, because getting physically outside gets you mentally outside your head. Okay. The V, and this is why it's important. We're going to circle back to V, but it's visualize. Okay. And then the E is exercise, which is the king of them all. I think exercise is the key to releasing the brain. Okay. There's 3 super neurotransmitters: dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. Dopamine helps you motivate. Serotonin helps you decrease anxiety. Norepinephrine, my favorite, it boosts focus. That's why workouts are so important. Okay. Let's circle back to V. So V is visualize. So literally you're going to get on a whiteboard and you draw with your child and you say, okay, so you were in this classroom, draw a square, and now you got forced to this classroom. What does that look like? And he'll be like, I don't know. It's blue. Like, no, I get it. Okay, so the classroom is blue, but what does it look like? Do you get to sit by a friend? Do you have to sit in a pod? Do you have to sit in a circle? What's it look like? And once he draws the physical piece, his head's there now. And now we say, okay, what are you afraid of? Why is it different? Why is it scary? Why does it make you mad? And then you identify those things, and whatever those things are, you unhinge them. Like, oh, so you have a separate teacher there because your classroom got split. I see. So you don't have Mrs. Henry no more. You have Miss Johnson. So what's wrong with Mrs. Johnson? Like, she's weird. She's not Mrs. Henry. So now you can visualize, like, okay, well, what would it take for you to get to know Mrs. Johnson? And what can you do to make that fun for you? And he'll start to visualize what will happen. And I promise you, the next day he feels like he's there because he just had an episode. So now tomorrow he's just been there twice with Mrs. Johnson. He'll feel a connection to her. Nothing happened, but he made some movement inside his head by visualizing a positive outcome. So he took away the power. Remember, anxiety is excessive worry about what hasn't happened yet. So now we're visualizing what hasn't happened yet, and we're changing the outcome for him. Right? We unhinged him. We unstuck him.
Yep.
Makes sense? Dude, this is a beast.
I always try to do that with Stella because I've always heard like other parents say, like, don't ask the kids, what makes them feel anxious or why they're scared, because then they're thinking about it and they're going to think about it more. Just talk about real positive stuff. And I don't really like that because then I'm not teaching Stella to ever voice her fears or anxiety. So the first, 2 days prior to going to school, I was like, hey, is anything making you scared? Are you scared about anything? Are you nervous about something? Because, most people say don't do that because then she's going to constantly be thinking about it. But in my mind, I want her to think about it, express it, and then let's work through it. So now she's not just thinking about it in her 4-year-old brain. And so she asked what she's going to do. She goes poop because she's not used to wiping her butt.
Yes.
So,
This is perfect because in the research, people fear talking about the heavy conversations, but people who don't have that opportunity to talk about heavy conversations, I promise you, they find the wrong crowd to talk about it. So if you and I never talk about like topic X, and you struggle with topic X as a kid, and I never mention it, and if you kind of hint at it, I kind of just positively roll over it, you're going to feel super weird. Like, my dad must not have this issue. Then you're going to find people who have that issue, and they're going to tell you the wrong thing to do about that issue. So yes, right. Tackle the hard questions, especially when kids are young, because they develop this open security with my dad or my mom. Like, I can open up hard questions. Terrence and Tave always say, thank you for dealing with the tough questions, right? Yep. Because I wanted to find that. And if I don't have the answer, I'm like, dude, I struggle with that same question. Like, I don't know. Let's research it. Okay.
Yep. So we were able to answer those questions. And then, so the cool thing is so she went first day, loved it. The second day, she went back, and so they did half the class one day, and then half the class the next day, and then the third day, all of them together. And so on the day all together, she was nervous again, and she brought it up on the way down there. She said, Dad, I'm kind of scared. And I was like, why are you scared? What's wrong? She's like, well, there's going to be new kids there. Yeah. And so I said, oh, well, that's fine. No big deal. And she's like, well, what if one of the girls are mean to me? And so by me, me and Alicia, for the first couple of days asking, are you okay? Is there anything you're anxious or nervous? Then now she felt comfortable enough, even just in like a 3-day period, then say like, hey, this is something now I'm scared about. And so, if we can do that with a 4-year-old, imagine if you guys or whoever has kids, however age they are, you start working through that with high school and middle school, open up those lines of communication. Sweet.
Correct.
All right. Yeah. You got something else, or I was going to ask another question?
Yeah. So I want to show I just drew this. This is what I'm trying to shuffle. I don't know if you can see it. Can you
back
see
it
that?
up a bit? Right there. Yep.
Can you see it?
I can see it. I can't. They might be able to see it. You're pretty small on my screen.
Okay. So I just walked through it. So this is performance, like how well I perform on a test or anything. Okay. Sports, whatever it is. So I perform high up here. I perform average here. I perform really low here. This scale here, this axis, this is anxiety, or psychologically what's called arousal. Like, how jacked up are you, or how anxious are you? Okay. So this is low anxiety, this is moderate anxiety, and this is high anxiety. So what you can see automatically is if I'm low, I have no anxiety, I'm not worried about this at all, I usually don't do too hot. If I have too much anxiety, I actually crash because my body is wrecked and I can't perform up to my potential. So the best answer is it's okay to have a little bit of anxiety because I'm like geared up for the test, or like I'm jacked for my game. And so a lot of times as parents, we try to get kids not to be anxious, like not to worry. And actually it's okay to have just a little bit of worry, a middle amount or a moderate amount, because if I'm moderately anxious, I'll perform the best because a little bit of anxiety or a little bit of arousal, like I'm jacked up, I'm fired up, a little bit of that helps me win. Make sense?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've always said people always ask, like, when I preach, like, do you get nervous? And I tell them, yeah, I still get nervous, and I don't ever want to lose that nervousness, because you get anxious and nervous about something that's important. And so every time I preach, I want to feel that anxious, like this is the eternity is in balance and people's lives are at stake when I preach. And if I ever get to a place where that's not important, or it doesn't cause me a little bit of anxiety, then I think we're not holding that to be important.
Correct. Yeah.
Sweet. That leads to my next question. So we cannot avoid anxiety, right?
Correct. Right.
So there's always things that are going to be causing us anxiety and fear and worry, and that's life. So when we have anxiety, it's like a 3-part question. How do you get rid of it? How do you deal with it? How do you handle it? How do you overcome it? How do we process through it? How do we, I'm feeling anxiety. I feel it start building up, whether it's through my gut and then my thoughts, or my thoughts to my gut. Some practical steps to handle it, to overcome it. You mentioned a couple of breathing, but let's put it like real practical.
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm trying to get excited, like a game that I'm nervous about, that kind of breath is really, really quick, powerful breaths to actually get my body in gear to push or fight. So that's going to look like this, and you should try to do it 30 times. Every time I exhale, that's 1. So it looks and sounds like this. So it seems really weird, but what I'm doing
looks like you're about to die.
No, you're in the nose, quick puff of exhale. In the nose, quick puff of exhale. And that's actually, if you do it 30 times, you feel like, man, I could get stuff done. Okay? Because you're telling your body, like, I'm starting to get anxious, and I'm going to be like, okay, let's just crank it up a couple notches. And I'm like, okay, let's go. You see the difference?
That's like what bodybuilders do before they like bench press or something.
Yes, exactly. You'll see them just like, they do it really big. That's exactly correct.
Yeah. So I'm about to do a push-up.
Yeah. So that's if like I'm getting anxious about this, but I have to perform. So now I'm going to push my body to a little bit of heightened level. Okay. Yeah. Now let's say don't want to be anxious, but I'm feeling nervous for something. Okay. Now that looks just the opposite. So now I'm going to take a real long, slow inhale, and I'm going to exhale out of my mouth as slow as I can. What they say is you're blowing a candle without trying to blow it out. So that looks like this. Okay. That long.
I feel like I'm in yoga class.
That's exactly right. That long exhale resets my alarm system. So now, like, the alarm's panicking because the popcorn's burning. That's literally getting on a ladder and just hitting the button. And I'm like, okay, I'm back to 0. You understand? So that usually I tell people just 3 of those. So inhale as long as you can through the nose, and exhale as long and slow as you can through the mouth 3 times. That's the reset. Okay. Now let's say you do that one, and like you're still panicked about things. Okay. So the things is really, really important, because I hear a lot of people that say there's so much on my plate. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm just panicked. Like, I'm overwhelmed. Like, overwhelmed is a big, big, big word. Or people will say this, like, I'm under so much stress, right? So first of all, let's attack the self-talk. So I'll say to somebody like, overwhelmed as in like you're on a ship and it just sank and there's no life jackets and no boats. And then they'll say stuff like, oh no, like not like that overwhelmed. I'm like, okay, define overwhelmed to me. Like, well, okay, overwhelmed, maybe it's just a feeling of overwhelmed. So we're just going to knock it down a notch, right? And then from there, we can actually talk about what we do. So then I have them do this. So I just call this a now sheet. Okay. And it's literally 4 columns. So I have them write down everything that they're overwhelmed with, as many as you can. And a lot of times, especially with a student, I just have scribbles on it. It's not actually words, but just a now sheet. So that first line is all the stuff that's like overwhelming me. And once they put it all down, I have them read over every single one of them, because we're going to spark some anxiety when they read it. And I say, how do you feel? And they go like crappy, like this is ridiculous. I'm like, okay, so let's draw the line. And then I'm like, I want you to now to pick the most ones that are important. So that next list is important. And they'll pull over 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. And then I'll say, now read the list. And they'll read it back to me. And I'll say, how do you feel? And they go, same, like this still sucks. Then the last one, I'll say, okay, now prioritize those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Prioritize those 5 for me. And they go, well, what do you mean? Like, okay, for a student, which ones do first? Which is the most important to you? Like, prioritize them. Okay. So now they got 1, 2, 3. And I'm saying, like, if you only have the time to do one right now, which one can you do? And then they'll pick that one. So then we actually highlight that one, and I'll fold the piece of paper all the way to that. And I'll say, there, that's your assignment. Can you get one of these done today? Can you get that one done today? And they was like, yeah, for sure. Okay, that's all you got to do. They're like, what about the rest of it? I'm like, okay, if you feel get that one done, go take a break, go exercise, take a nap, breathe, whatever you need to do to reset, do the process again. So now they just have to look back at the priority list and pull one more over. Now I do that one. Priority list, next one. Now, what's really cool for me is sometimes I get an email from a kid who's panicked at school, and they go, dude, that stuff's legit. Like that's amazing. So it's all just prioritizing in the brain. So like if I have a Kleenex box, I tell people this all the time. So if we put those in a brain, what happens is there's one Kleenex box, like that's one assignment. But what happens, it clicks to another Kleenex box and another one, another. So now they're pulling this huge train of assignments and they're overwhelmed. So what I help them do is I detach each individual problem, and then we analyze each individual problem. We break it down. Does that make sense? And so what you really see is sometimes they even go, dude, I wasn't even worried about that one. I don't know why it's on the list. Because they get to re-see it from a different mindset now. They have a different mind looking at the same problem.
Yep.
Makes sense? So that's how we tackle through the anxiety that initially makes me want to just go to sleep or go eat or go whatever. Like I want to run and hide.
A couple comments came through. Crystal said, could you possibly write and publish a book for a playbook for us?
Yes. I'm working.
Yes.
I'm working on it.
Alicia says, does that work to motivate you even if you aren't anxious, like to get off your butt if you're sitting on the couch to do something you need to do? I think she's talking about the bodybuilding, like,
yes,
you know, the quick 30 quick puffs.
Yeah, and actually, if you self-talk, tell yourself too, like, I'm gonna do this 3 times. On that third one, I'm gonna jump up and then jump up.
What if you don't want to get off the couch? Then you just don't do that breathing?
Yeah. If you're going to talk yourself out of it, then don't do it.
Okay.
I'm going to do it and say it doesn't work and just lay here. Then just don't do it.
Right. Mike Langle said, Raul blowing sweet nothings at me right now.
Let's go, bro. I got you.
So performance, the 30 quick in, quick outs.
Yes.
If you're so the breathing one to me is like if you're in a situation where you need to calm down immediately, that's that in the nose, out the mouth.
Correct.
Right? You're walking into a job interview, some of those type of like just you need to calm your nerves down, stressful situations, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The paper one is for long-term assignments, tasks, things that you're overwhelmed with.
Yeah, or a business owner who's got 16 things due this week.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Okay, so here's one that we haven't hit on yet. This is probably one of the ones that I struggle with the most. Not task oriented.
Okay.
Not current right now, but like things that I literally can't practically do, but have caused me worry and fear, right? That as I snowball those down, it just, student loan payment, house payment, concrete floor, car making some sounds, election, pandemic, social injustice, conflicts, things that like I can't say, okay, cool, this is number one, let me do that today. What do we do there when we've all been there before? World's going to end and just all the way down.
Yeah. So what happens is, I know this sounds really weird, but the reason you have anxiety over it is because you somehow put yourself in a position to carry some sort of control. What am I going to do about it? How are we going to make this right? How am I going to vote my dude in when I'm only one dude? And the reverse of that is like, why am I even going to freaking vote in the first place? Because I'm not going to matter. Right? So what happens is people get in these all in or all out things. And the idea is you don't control any of it. The idea is like, I talked about it and it makes me nervous, but I can't control it. There's no reason I'm going to let it control me. Right.
Or what about like fear, anxiety, like my kid's driving, you know, or my kid's off at college and I just start worrying about him dying or her getting a car accident, you know, like that type of stuff. What do we do there?
So that depends on who you are. So like, if you're more a thought person like me, I can literally talk myself out of that by saying like, just because I worry about it, does it make it more likely to happen? So because I'm cognitively oriented, I can fight through with self-talk. But for mom, who's more feeling, she has that feeling, so she'll pray. And if that feeling doesn't go away, then she'll actually call, right? Like, Tave, are you okay? Like, I had a weird thought. I had a bad dream. Like, are you okay?
Yep.
Do you wear your seatbelt when you drive? Do you stand to the speed limit? Like, do you look out behind you when you, right? That's mine.
Yeah.
So if you're a feeler and you feel like I can't get rid of it, then make that phone call and say, hey, I just need to make sure you're okay. I've been worried about you, right? So need to do to change the feeling. The cognitive person just has to battle through the self-talk, okay? And the key is this, like, you have to realize you don't have a sense of control there. So why am I trying to gain control? I don't have a sense of control. So I'm going to let go of that and I'm going to work on some people. I'm going to vote because that's the number one control I have. That's it, right? For me personally, I'm not even going to waste energy trying to convince you who to vote for or convince you you're wrong. I'm not going to waste mental energy. Like, the older I get, the more I realize how sensitive mental energy is. And man, if I worry about a problem I can't control, then I have zero left to do something simple like mow. Like, oh man, I don't feel good today. Like, I'm wrecked. And so then that self-talk wrecks me just to go do something basic. Interestingly enough, if I let it go and I go mow, I feel better because I have a sense of control over something. Does that make sense?
So basically let go of the things that you can't control. Stop pondering and just going down a rat race of running through thoughts for no reason.
Yeah, so the two options. One is to acknowledge I don't control any of that. I have zero control over it. You have to acknowledge that. Number two, what can I control? And that way I start to have better action towards something where I feel good about myself.
Yep, I like it.
Okay.
Mike Langle said, serious question, Raul, as a future educator, what do you believe is one of the most effective tools I can use, speaking of Langle, so one of the most effective tools he can use to help students relieve some of the tension and anxiety? He's getting education to be a teacher.
Okay, the most important piece, bro, is literally EIQ, so emotional intelligence. We have a lot of kids who are super smart. They're literally robots. They go to college and they flunk out because they can't deal with the social situation, or they can't deal with not getting into the club they voted for, or not becoming a frat guy, or whatever it is they go for, and they don't get it. So whatever level that looks like, you know, a star 8th grader who gets into 9th grade and now they don't get star positions, they're all wrecked because they don't know how to emotionally manage any kind of anxiety or fear that they didn't expect. Like, oh, I'm gonna be a star, and they get there and they're not. Now what? So EIQ is what it's called, emotional intelligence. But the number one hinge factor on whether or not somebody has EIQ or doesn't is called mental agility. So think about like the world's best running back ever created. His name's Barry Sanders, played for the Lions. Just saying. There's no argument there, period, or I'll boot you. Just kidding. Okay, so think of mental agility literally as physical agility. It's left, right, forward, back, 2 steps, hop, boom, boom, boom. If you have agility, there's literally nothing that can wreck you because it just pushes you and you just carry that momentum. Another dude that I like about, sorry, for ladies, I'm a dude, so this is how I process this. The other dude is Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee's like crazy technique, why it was so weird, is Bruce Lee never really attacked. Bruce Lee's a counterpuncher, and he would use your momentum against you. So if you went for my legs, he would use a move to attack you as you're coming for my legs. It's super, super cool. But this is the idea. If society pushes me to the right, I'm going to run right. If like this epidemic pushes me to go forward, I'm going to go forward. If my job says you can't go this way no more, you have to go that way, or you lose a job, then I'm going to go that way. Like, I'm not saying go against your values or go against who you are, but I'm saying kind of like roll with the punches. Like, I know this is really weird, but even as a kid, my family all calls me roller, just like roller coaster, like roller. And it's just because I always rolled with it. Like, nothing really got me down because like no matter how you kind of came at me, I used it against you. It's really weird. just a natural kind of mental agility piece. So that's your answer. So study mental agility and study EIQ, and then apply that as a teacher. Like, how can I use that, right? So interesting fact is the top CEOs in the world, they're rated the best, and the number one quality every one of those top CEOs has is super high mental agility. None of the other traits matter as much as mental agility. So that's a great question, Langle.
That's why I didn't care about my GPA, because my mental agility.
Let's go. 2.0 GPA. Woo, woo.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
2.8. Sabrina Cooley said, is that why people overeat, or the opposite side, anorexia, bulimia, etc., because it's something that they can control?
Facts. Okay. And they're rebooting the chemistry. So think about what comfort foods do to you, right? They increase serotonin, number one, and they give you energy. So it's an uphill battle because it's a system that nobody can beat. You guys see me as a dude who's like 225, 228, whatever. But there was a time when
there was. There was.
Size 42 jeans, and like I was in like double X shirts and they didn't fit. So I've been there. Like
275, he lies.
260. But
nah. I'll pull the picture up right now.
30 pounds. That's over 30 pounds from where I'm at now. But here's the deal. I was building a clinic and working like over 60 hours, right? And that's when you were like not seeing me home for dinner a lot, right? Because I'm driving to Cherokee, I'm driving to Ida Grove, I'm building my practice, and literally I'm eating fast food in the car every day. And I pack lunches and stuff, but for dinner on the way home, I didn't wait for an hour and 15-minute drive. I just stop and grab something. So yeah, so it's a great question, and the answer is yes.
Yep. Cool. I think we hit on all that. You got anything else? I got one more thing, and then we'll close it out.
No.
Any other questions? Any other comments? We'd love to answer these. Thank you for those that are willing to hop into the comments here, and with some boldness and confidence to step out some things that maybe apply to you or someone else. But either way, hop in these comments. We like that. That makes it more interesting.
Yes. Thank you.
So I do a devotion. Welcome to the 270 Club, my dude. Yeah. Hey, I'm 8 pounds away from being under 300. So I haven't been under 300 for like maybe it might be 7 or 8 years.
Oh, bro!
So,
guess what? Guess what I forgot before you finish your last thing.
What?
I smoked you in golf. Just so everybody knows. Just so everybody knows.
Dude,
just so everybody knows.
Define smoke.
It's a U plus U, which equals a W, baby. Give me that win, bro. Let me hear it.
Stop lying. This man got I golfed the worst game I've ever golfed. He golfed the best, and he beat me by one. And my putt was going to the hole, and a demonic presence jolted the ball to the right. Everyone goes, "You made that," and then it just went. Eek. Anyways, I'm trying to be serious here.
Here's the deal. It's called Any Given Sunday, bro. Any Given Sunday. I got you.
Okay, but that's not true because I caught you by 8. I was down 8 strokes.
Bro, okay, so if Detroit loses by 1, right?
Nah,
they still lost.
You were so close from
if Detroit wins by 1, they still won.
What happened at Honey Creek?
I lost. You won. What happened in Hinton?
By 14 strokes.
Facts is 12, but you won. I lost. What happened in Hinton, bro? What happened in Hinton?
You got me by 1 stroke. Okay.
Get back to business.
Back to serious. Let the adults talk.
Sorry.
I do a morning devotion called "My Utmost for His Highest" by Oswald Chambers.
Yeah, that dude's dope.
I thought I had it here, but I didn't. Anyways, and so you can go to utmost.org and you can get the online devotion if you don't want to buy the book. But anyways, his devotion the other day was right around and along all this, talking about joy and happiness and what steals your joy and how we define happiness the same as joy, and that's disrespectful to God. That happiness is circumstantial and joy is an everlasting joy through every circumstance in this life. And so one of the main things when I think about anxiety is I don't really struggle with anxiety a lot. I struggle with the situational anxiety, but not not something that's just rampant in my life. Like if I'm going to preach, I get, anxious, but not something that I have to constantly deal with and pray about.
Yeah.
And I give not the credit to myself and like, I'm so awesome, but I put all my faith in Jesus and the joy that God brings me to replace that. And so this devotion says this, which really questioned a lot of things that I thought. So it says this: once you have the right relationship with God through salvation and sanctification, salvation is giving your heart to Jesus, acknowledging that he died on the cross for your sins. Sanctification is that process from leaving and running away from sin and running towards Jesus. And the closer you get to Jesus, the less you want to sin. It's an ongoing, lifelong process. It says, so once you go through, or once you have a relationship with God through salvation and sanctification, remember that whatever your circumstances may be, you have been placed in them by God. And remember this, that God uses the reaction of your life to your circumstances to fulfill his purpose, as long as you continue to walk in the light as he is in the light.
That's deep.
So what's that saying is that it's super deep, that your circumstances don't define your salvation and your sanctification with God. And when that is right, when you are in right standing with God, you're living to what he's called you to live by and according to his plan and purpose for your life. God places you in circumstances that cause, and he allows anxiety and fear and this crazy 2020 to happen. And he does that because your reaction, as long as you stay in walking in the light like he is in the light, you bring God honor and glory through your response to those circumstances, which is the witness to the world that we have the joy that pulls us through some of these anxious moments.
Right.
And the way we respond to that as Christians is the light of the world.
Yeah.
Like it's how we've responded through the pandemic. It's how we respond through racial injustice. It's how we respond through all of this. Literally shows people Jesus.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. So here's the concept. I see your, like, the thoughts as seeds, and I'm planting them, and then they'll show up later. So, and your thoughts are literally, like, if you think about a programming situation, my thought is a Google search. Each thought is a Google search. Each thought is a Google search. Each answer that ends my thoughts, like, well, that's just going to happen. So there's no reason that people say it all the time, like, I'm done. I'm over it. Right. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's no way to beat it. Like, it just is. So once I put an answer on a bunch of fear thoughts, so I Google searched it, I researched it in my mind, and then I go, well, there's no reason I can beat this. I'm done. That's literally the assignment that my body actually starts to make the neurochemistry of that feeling. So I can wreck myself by just thinking of an answer that's going to wreck me. Instead of saying, well, if that's true, that's how it's going to play out, what would I do differently now? Right? So people say this all the time. You are still writing your story. Like, yes, or tomorrow hasn't happened. So what am I going to do if tomorrow feels like it's going to suck? What can I do now to make tomorrow better? Right?
And that goes to the stat. You're talking about the status we had.
That's the status. So this is, we talk about this kind of stuff as a family, but Tavian takes it to the next level, where Tavian says, make today hard so tomorrow's easy. Which is, when I start to panic about tomorrow, how much of that tomorrow can I get done right now, so I take away some of the anxiety? You get it? And so and the last piece I'll share is this: like, our Heavenly Father, who loves us literally like a daddy, why would he ever put us in a scenario that's going to literally wreck us? It's not. Like, as a kid, I put you in elite challenges, like trying out for elite teams, because I knew you could make it. So you go to Premier Soccer and you try out, and they're like, oh, we got a packed team, to really only have one alternate spot. And I was like, bro, you don't know my boy. He's a Sanchez. And you try out, and next thing you know, you're starting. Right? So if you put your kids in those situations, I would never put you in a situation where I thought you're just going to get wrecked and get teased or get picked on. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, why would Jesus do that to us? Jesus ain't going to do that. You would never put Stella in a class that's going to wreck her, but you would definitely put Stella in a class that's going to challenge her. And when we start to have fear and anxiety, just ask that question. Like, if my dad is for me and every good and perfect gift comes from him, and I'm struggling with this horrible thing right now, what would he say about it? What would he do? And he would be like, honey, I'm sorry you're in this battle, but I put you there to be light because you're going to be victorious. Do you understand? Dude, that's huge, bro.
Yep. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to post that in the comments. Let's see if it works.
Okay.
Oh, I did. Okay.
It worked? Nice.
Yeah. There you go.
Awesome.
All right. Sabrina Cooley said, faith over fear. Agreed. Faith over fear. And then another one my mom likes to say is wisdom over stupidity.
Yeah.
So faith over fear, wisdom over stupidity. You
and
don't
fear,
just have
and fear is a liar.
stupid faith. Yeah, don't have stupid faith. I'm not going to jump in front of a bus and have faith that God's going to save me. That's stupid. That's not faith. Still have wisdom. What's the website again? Let me see if I can type it. There you go. Utmost.org. Just make I said that right. Utmost. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. If that doesn't work and I mistyped it or something, it's Oswald Chamberlain. My utmost for his highest.
Chambers, I think.
So, yeah. What did I say?
Chamberlain.
Chamberlain?
It's
No,
Chambers.
No, Oswald Chambers. Yeah, Chambers.
Chambers.
Yep. Cool. Anything else you got?
That's it.
Sweet. Well, we're going to try to get this to work. We're going to keep doing this for maybe a week or two. So our cameraman, Nate, shout out to Nate Castillo, married Tanya over the weekend, and they're on a honeymoon. And so, and then in a couple weeks, our audio guy, Bryce, he gets married. So we got a little bit of just some weirdness and schedule issues. So we're going to make this work for a while. And then October 1st, you know what I'm saying? We're going to take a little break because it's deer season. So if we can keep this process up to keep our ability to hunt and editing down, we might be able to just go live and keep this process going, hopefully on Zoom, so then we can record it and post it. But either way, we'll keep doing some of this stuff. And thanks for hopping in the comments. Share this if you're watching. Share this and get as many people to watch this as possible, not to hype us up or to get us any more likes or views, but so that people can read and listen to and hear this about anxiety and know that they're not alone in this whole process.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. So we got something going on because there's something in the water. Two dudes are getting married who had nobody on the radar. So it's interesting.
Right.
You know? So that's awesome.
If you're single, join the Renewing the Mind podcast team. We'll get you hitched.
Facts. So that'll be a whole show because what's happened is both those dudes leveled up, right? They're climbing.
Yep.
And so it makes them more attractive.
Langle said, get a new sound guy. Bryce isn't cutting it. Yep. Bye, Bryce. Booted. Yeah. Langle, you know how to do audio?
Yeah. Check mic 1, check mic 2, check.
Right. All right. Well, we love all you guys.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Just like we end every podcast, don't forget to renew your perspective, move towards uncertainty, and find what's awesome about that in every situation.
I had to realize what's inside of me. For all of the people that lied to me, for all of the people that said I would fall off. Oh, boy, what a time to be alive. I wrote this for everyone, feel like they counted out. You need to look in the mirror and tell yourself it's time to be who I am now. Greatness.